I uncovered a series of fraudulent transactions during my tenure as a junior financial analyst. Presenting my findings to my superior, Curtis Brandt, I observed a distinct unease in his demeanor. His response was curt and dismissive. These clients were too valuable. I should let the matter drop. The following day, I received a termination notice citing corporate restructuring. I departed Westbrook Investment Partners, a mid-sized firm located in the bustling city of Denver, without protest. My exit, however, wasn't entirely uneventful. My name is Michael Davies, and at 29 years old, I had dedicated nearly 2 years to Westbrook Investment Partners. My days were largely consumed by poring over spreadsheets, diligently seeking inconsistencies often overlooked by my colleagues. Office politics weren't my forte. I rarely participated in after-work gatherings. My true expertise lay in numbers, precise, unwavering, and revealing. Numbers, unlike people, don't fabricate or conceal. It was this steadfast belief that prompted my scrutiny of the accounts belonging to the Peterson Group. Invoice discrepancies, payment routing numbers recurring across 3 specific recipients, vendor names seemingly legitimate, yet lacking verifiable online presence or physical addresses. My direct supervisor, Curtis Brandt, occupied a spacious corner office, his expensive golf clubs casually propped against his credenza. When I presented my findings on that Tuesday afternoon, a meticulously prepared file tucked securely under my arm, he gestured me inside without interrupting his work at the computer. "What's the issue, Davies?" he inquired. I deposited the file on his desk. "I've identified some unusual activity in the Peterson Group accounts," I explained. His gaze briefly flickered towards the file before returning to me. "Unusual how?" he pressed. I indicated the highlighted sections. "These transactions are being routed through shell corporations. Identical routing patterns and consistently inflated amounts. It's a systematic operation." Curtis flipped through the pages, his expression darkening with each turn. Upon closing the folder, his hand lingered on it far longer than necessary. "These clients are exceedingly valuable," he stated firmly. "Drop it," he added. I offered only a simple nod, outwardly compliant. "Understood," I replied. Unknown to him, I had already secured digital copies of all the incriminating documentation. His tone had hinted at the potential necessity of such precautionary measures. The next morning, I received a call from the human resources representative, Sarah. The company was undergoing a restructuring, and my position had been eliminated. The dismissal was framed as impersonal, a severance check forthcoming. I was instructed to clear my desk by midday. The departure was devoid of any acknowledgement. The swiftness with which one becomes invisible within an organization was quite striking. "Trust your instincts, Michael. Numbers may be unyielding, but people are anything but." She had raised me following the tragic loss of my parents in a car accident when I was 12. Westbrook Investment Partners wasn't my dream role, but it was a reputable firm with a stable reputation. I maintained a low profile, consistently working 60-hour weeks and cultivating a reputation for dependability even if not spectacular. Curtis himself had hired me, citing his appreciation for my meticulous attention to detail. "People overlook things," he had remarked during the interview. "I need someone who doesn't." In retrospect, several red flags had gone unnoticed. The Peterson Group's accounts were sacrosanct, handled exclusively by a select few. Queries regarding their portfolio were met with evasive responses or vague dismissals. I once overheard Curtis on a call stating, no one's inquiring. It's being managed precisely as we agreed." I disregarded these warnings. I was diligently building my career, seeking respect and financial stability. Complications were something I wished to avoid. There was a senior analyst, Emily Carter, employed in the compliance department 2 floors below. We had occasionally encountered each other in the break room. She held a reputation for her meticulous nature, which some found intimidating. She once examined a discrepancy I had flagged in a different account. "Excellent observation," she commented, appraising my organized workspace. "Not everyone takes such diligent care." "Just fulfilling my responsibilities," I replied. She scrutinized me for a moment before handing me her business card. "If you ever encounter something that doesn't align, feel free to contact me." I kept her card in my wallet, nestled behind my driver's license, never anticipating its future relevance. 2 months prior, a fellow analyst, Brian, had been abruptly dismissed. Office gossip suggested he had asked too many questions about specific accounts. I presumed he had committed some critical error. Now I question whether he had witnessed the same pattern of fraudulent transactions. The day preceding my discovery, Curtis had invited me to lunch, an unusual occurrence. He had inquired about my career ambitions and job satisfaction, suggesting I possessed considerable potential. Looking back, I believe he was assessing my trustworthiness, my capacity to maintain silence. I failed his test without ever realizing it was in progress. The following morning I sat in my apartment, reviewing the copied files on my laptop. Before leaving Westbrook, I had cleverly forwarded copies of the Peterson Group's records to my personal email address. Legally, it wasn't the most prudent move, but my intuition suggested something far more extensive was at play. I created a spreadsheet meticulously tracking all flagged transactions. Over 6 months, more than $3.8 million had been funneled through these shell companies. The full scope remained obscured at the office, but now clearly presented, the pattern was irrefutable. Money laundering was occurring within the firm, and Curtis was complicit. My phone buzzed. A text from another analyst, Jessica. Heard what happened. Unbelievable that they dismissed you without warning. Drinks tonight? I didn't respond. I couldn't articulate my thoughts. Unsure who to trust, I retrieved Emily Carter's card from my wallet. Her direct line was printed beneath her email address. My finger hovered over my phone. What could I hope to accomplish? I had already lost my job. Confronting a substantial investment firm would be costly, arduous, and potentially career-ending. I'd be branded a troublemaker. Perhaps I should simply move on, find alternative employment, and forget what I'd witnessed. Trust your instincts, Michael. What did my instincts tell me now? That something profoundly wrong was unfolding. That wealthy individuals were violating rules and inflicting harm. That Curtis had chosen a path that was unequivocally wrong, and that I too had a decision to make. Upon returning home, I printed all the documents, 322 pages in total. I meticulously organized them chronologically, creating tabs for each suspect client, and compiled a comprehensive summary of my findings. This meticulously prepared collection was then placed inside a large manila envelope. My anger had subsided. I felt a sense of calm, a clarity of purpose. I sent a concise email to Emily Carter. I've discovered something you need to see. Could we meet tomorrow? Her reply arrived within 20 minutes. My office. 9 a.m. That night, I slept soundly for the first time in months. The shell corporations, the recurring routing patterns, the inflated invoices, Curtis's order to disregard my findings, and my subsequent dismissal under the guise of restructuring. Emily's expression remained unchanged throughout my explanation. Once I finished, she opened the envelope and began reviewing the documents. You've retained copies of internal financial records, she observed. Affirmative, I replied. That's against company policy, potentially illegal, she noted. I'm aware, I admitted. She studied me intently. What do you seek from this, Michael? She asked. Nothing, I answered. I simply couldn't ignore what I knew was happening. This could have repercussions for you. Significant repercussions, I added. I stood to leave. I understand, I said. Do you? She questioned. Westbrook has influential clients and highly paid lawyers. If your findings are accurate, individuals will lose their jobs, possibly face imprisonment. They will fight aggressively. They've already terminated me, I countered. What else can they do? My answer arrived 3 days later in the form of a certified letter from Westbrook's legal department. I was accused of theft of proprietary information, breach of confidentiality, and defamation. They demanded the immediate return of all company documents and a signed retraction of my accusations. The letter concluded with an implicit threat. Non-compliance would result in the pursuit of all available legal options. That afternoon my phone rang, displaying an unknown number. Michael, it's Curtis. We need to talk. My heart pounded, but I maintained composure. I don't believe that's advisable, I replied. Look, things escalated. I understand your frustration about losing your job, but this isn't the appropriate approach. If you drop this, we can reach an agreement. We might even be able to reinstate you. What team would that be, Curtis? The one that overlooks money laundering by its clients. Silence followed. Then, I pressed. You have no idea what you're discussing or who you're facing. These individuals. He hesitated. Just meet me for coffee. 15 minutes. No, thank you, I said. You're making a mistake, Davies. A major one. After disconnecting the call, I contacted a lawyer. The consultation fee consumed nearly a full day's wages from my previous position, but I needed legal guidance. The attorney, Evelyn Reed, specialized in corporate whistleblower cases. She listened attentively to my account without interruption. You've placed yourself in a precarious situation, she remarked upon my conclusion. However, if your claims are accurate, there are legal protections for whistleblowers. The challenge lies in proving retaliation when your termination was presented as a restructuring. Should I simply concede, allow them to escape accountability? I inquired. She leaned forward. I didn't suggest that. I said it's precarious. We will need substantial evidence directly linking your dismissal to your discovery. These individuals. Who was he fearful of? The clients. Someone within Westbrook. A minor news article from 3 years prior, before I joined Westbrook. The Peterson Group had been under SEC investigation for potential securities fraud. The case had been inexplicably dropped without explanation. Further investigation revealed an archived article mentioning the abrupt retirement of the lead SEC investigator midway through the investigation. Coincidence? A knock at my door startled me. It was almost midnight. I peered through the peephole. Emily Carter stood in the hallway, her expression tense. "May I enter?" she asked upon my opening the door. I stepped aside. She entered swiftly, glancing behind her before I closed the door. "Were you followed?" I asked. Only partly in jest. She didn't smile. "Possibly. I'm not certain," she responded. She placed her bag on my kitchen counter and produced a flash drive. "I've found more. Significantly more. You've merely scratched the surface," she said. She connected the drive to my laptop. Folders appeared, chronologically organized, dating back 5 years. "The Peterson accounts aren't the only ones," she revealed, opening several documents. "There are at least 3 other client groups engaging in similar schemes. All high value, all protected." "Protected by whom?" I asked. Emily looked directly into my eyes. "By Arthur Westbrook himself," she replied. "Arthur Westbrook, the founder and CEO of the firm, the man whose name graced the building." "How extensive is this?" I inquired. "The CFO is definitely involved. Likely the head of client services as well. They've been transferring funds offshore, using our firm to legitimize the transactions." I sank onto my couch. "Why are you sharing this with me? Why not go to the authorities?" "I needed to be certain first," she hesitated. "I needed someone else who knew, someone outside the company. Insurance." "Insurance against what?" I asked. 3 years ago, an analyst named David Miller uncovered something similar. He went directly to the SEC. 2 days later, he was involved in a fatal car accident. My mouth went dry. "You suspect?" I stammered. "I don't know what to think." But his notes specifically mentioned the Peterson Group. I stared at the screen, at the intricate network of transactions and names. This wasn't simply fraud. It was a meticulously organized, systematic operation, protected at the highest levels. "What do we do now?" I asked. Emily closed the laptop. "We contact someone who cannot be bought, someone outside their sphere of influence." She produced a business card and placed it on the table. "Federal Bureau of Investigation." "I have a contact," she explained. "Someone specializing in financial crimes. But once we do this, there's no turning back. For either of us." I considered Curtis's warning, the black sedan, and David Miller's fate. "When do we meet them?" I asked. "Tomorrow, if you're willing," she replied. I nodded. "I'm in." After Emily departed, I copied all the files from her flash drive and concealed it behind a loose baseboard in my bathroom, my own insurance policy. That night, I packed a bag and found alternative accommodation. Some instincts are worth trusting. The FBI office was discreet, tucked away in an unassuming government building downtown. Agent Ava Rodriguez didn't resemble the stereotypical FBI agents depicted in films. No suit, no severe expression. Simply a woman in her late 40s, dressed practically in comfortable shoes, with weary eyes. "Tell me everything," she instructed. "From the beginning. The shell corporations, the movement of funds, the restricted access to specific accounts, the retaliatory actions, and the potential link to a prior investigation." Agent Rodriguez diligently took notes, posed insightful questions, and occasionally made phone calls to verify specific details. Upon our conclusion, she leaned back in her chair. "If your information is accurate, this is a substantial case. Money laundering on this scale usually involves other criminal enterprises, drug trafficking, corruption, tax evasion. Will you investigate?" Emily asked. "We already are," she responded. "Your information corroborates something we've been developing for months." She addressed me directly. "But will require your testimony. This means providing sworn statements, potentially in court." I reflected on my career prospects after being identified as the individual who exposed my former employer, on Curtis's warning, and on the tragic fate of David Miller, who may have been permanently silenced. "I'll cooperate," I declared. Agent Rodriguez nodded. "We'll proceed cautiously. These individuals possess significant resources and connections. For now, maintain complete confidentiality regarding this meeting." She provided each of us with a card containing only a phone number. If anything unusual occurs, contact this number immediately. As we exited the building, Emily touched my arm. Consider seeking alternative accommodation for a while, until this situation is resolved. I had already spent 2 nights at an economical hotel, already ahead of you, I confirmed. Smart, she remarked, offering a slight smile. When Curtis hired you, he told everyone you were too reserved to cause trouble. It seems he misjudged you. He's not the first, I replied. That afternoon, I attended a job interview at a smaller financial firm across town. I didn't mention Westbrook's accusations or the FBI investigation, focusing instead on my skills and experience. The hiring manager appeared impressed, promising to be in contact. Parking garage, level 3 blue Honda, 20 minutes. No name, but only one person knew my hotel location. Emily. I debated contacting Agent Rodriguez but decided to investigate firsthand. I took precautions, parking 1 level above, approaching on foot, and staying near the stairwell. The blue Honda was there. The driver's side window was lowered, but it wasn't Emily behind the wheel. It was Brian, the analyst who had been dismissed before me. Get in, he urged. Quickly, I hesitated. Please, it's about Emily, he added. I slid into the passenger seat.
How did you find me?
I asked.
Emily informed me of your location.
Yesterday, before they apprehended her, he responded. My stomach plummeted.
Apprehended? By whom? I questioned. Westbrook Security. They're claiming she stole confidential client information.
She's currently being interrogated by their legal team. He ran a hand through his hair. Look.
I know what you both discovered. I saw it 6 months ago. That's why I was fired. Why are you here now? I asked.
Because Emily assisted me when no one else would. And because what's happening at Westbrook is far more extensive than we initially realized. He handed me a USB drive. This contains information on offshore holdings, copies of altered financial statements, and recordings of conversations between Westbrook executives and Peterson Group representatives. Emily managed to extract it before they secured her computer.
I stared at the small device. Why not deliver this to the FBI yourself? I asked. Because Westbrook has individuals everywhere, even within law enforcement. Emily believed you might have a contact we could trust. He looked at me. Do you? He inquired. I thought of Agent Rodriguez, her weary eyes, her immediate understanding of our findings. Yes, I replied. I believe I do. I contacted the number on Rodriguez's card from Brian's car, informing her of Emily's apprehension. Within an hour we were in a different FBI office, with different agents creating a secure copy of Brian's files. By evening events unfolded rapidly. Emily was taken into protective custody by FBI agents. As she exited Westbrook's offices, warrants were being prepared, and I was relocated to a secure location until the situation was resolved. The last person I contacted was my lawyer, Evelyn. They're making their move tomorrow, I informed her. I need you present. I will be there, she replied. And Michael, regardless of the outcome, you acted correctly. That night, alone in an anonymous hotel room provided by the FBI, I reflected on the rapid changes in my life. 3 weeks earlier, I was simply an analyst performing my duties. Now I was at the center of what Agent Rodriguez described as one of the largest financial fraud cases of the year. Fear had been replaced by determination.
The raid commenced at 9:02 a.m. on a Tuesday. FBI agents entered Westbrook Investment Partners through every accessible entrance. While securing the building, other teams simultaneously executed search warrants at the residences of Arthur Westbrook, the CFO, and 3 senior partners. They also arrived at the Peterson Group headquarters in downtown Denver. I observed from Agent Rodriguez's car, parked across the street. Employees streamed out of the building, appearing confused. Some were being interviewed by agents on the sidewalk. Others congregated, checking their phones, trying to comprehend the unfolding events. Then I saw Curtis Brandt being escorted to a black SUV. No handcuffs, but clearly not a willing participant. His face conveyed a mixture of anger and fear. He's cooperating, Agent Rodriguez stated beside me, the first to flip, attempting to negotiate a plea bargain. Of course he was. I almost chuckled. Curtis looked up as the SUV departed. For a brief moment, our eyes met across the 2-car windows. He didn't appear surprised to see me, only defeated. Major investment firm raided in fraud investigation. The coverage mentioned a whistleblower who had uncovered the scheme. My name wasn't yet public, but it would be soon. Emily called from her lawyer's office. They're offering immunity to lower-level employees who cooperate, she informed me. The executives aren't so fortunate. Arthur Westbrook was arrested at his home. Shredded documents were discovered in his fireplace. What about the Peterson Group? I asked. Robert Peterson has apparently fled the country, but their assets have been frozen, she replied. The documents Brian and Emily had saved. My original findings, banking records seized in the raid, and now statements from at least 6 Westbrook employees who had witnessed aspects of the scheme, but had been too fearful to come forward. The prosecutor, a stern woman named Diane Evans, closed her file. Mr. Davies, your testimony is crucial to this case, but I want you to understand the situation. Defense attorneys will attempt to portray you as disgruntled, incompetent, or motivated by revenge. It won't be pleasant. Do you comprehend this? Are you prepared? I considered Curtis's warning, Emily's apprehension by Westbrook Security, and David Miller's likely silencing. Yes, I affirmed. I'm prepared. We need more individuals with integrity. I accepted. 15% of the penalties Westbrook would pay. The estimated amount was staggering. I wouldn't have financial concerns for a considerable period. That evening I visited my grandmother's grave, placing fresh flowers by her headstone. You are correct, I whispered. Trust your instincts. I could almost hear her laughter. Former Westbrook CEO pleads guilty in fraud case. Arthur Westbrook had finally accepted a plea bargain. He faced 7 to 10 years in prison, and the company bearing his name ceased to exist. Its legitimate assets were acquired by competitors, its reputation irreparably damaged. I closed the alert and returned to my work. The scandal had faded from the headlines, replaced by newer crises. But its effects endured. Stricter regulations, industry-wide compliance reviews, and occasional discussion in business school ethics classes. Curtis received a suspended sentence and probation for his cooperation. I heard he was working at his brother-in-law's insurance agency in Nebraska. He had attempted to contact me once, sending an email beginning with, "I hope you understand." I didn't finish reading it. Emily had thrived, recruited by a regulatory compliance firm where her expertise was highly valued. We occasionally met for coffee, bound by our shared experience, but not exactly friends. Brian had relocated to Seattle, beginning anew with a tech company unrelated to finance. And me? I was doing well. My new job presented stimulating challenges. My boss valued my meticulous attention to detail and my unwillingness to compromise my principles. The whistleblower reward remained largely untouched in an investment account. I used some to purchase a small house outside the city, a place with a garden my grandmother would have appreciated. I still checked my rearview mirror more often than most, still maintained digital backups of critical documents, and still trusted patterns more than promises. But I slept better at night. As I paid for my coffee and gathered my belongings, a young man approached my table, early 20s, radiating nervous energy, clutching a portfolio. "Excuse me," he said. "Are you Michael Davies?" I nodded cautiously. "I'm Mark. I just started at Zenith Financial. My new employer. They suggested I speak with you about their compliance protocols, that you're the ideal person to explain their importance." I studied him, recognizing the eagerness, the earnestness, mirroring my own demeanor not long ago. "Have a seat," I said, gesturing to the chair opposite me. "Let me tell you a story about patterns and their significance." He sat down, opened his notebook, pen poised. I began my narrative. Sometimes the most impactful action isn't making noise. It's simply refusing to avert your gaze when others do.